Last season, 17% of flagrant fouls were against Clark. 17%. I mean, there's how many players? And 17% are all against Clark. Now, you got to be asking yourself, where are the refs?
Caitlin Clark isn't just making waves in the WNBA. She's become the topic across sports, media, and entertainment. Not because she asked for attention, but because the world can't ignore what she's doing. Game after game, she's pulling in crowds that don't normally watch. Headlines follow not just about stats, but something deeper, something bigger. We've seen great players before, but this is different. The way people talk about her, from sports legends to late-night hosts, it says more than any box score ever could. And just when it feels like everyone's getting on the Caitlin Clark train, the tone shifts. Voices like Dr. Phil, Christine Brennan, not praise something sharper, something no one saw coming. And Shane Gillis, a comic who's roasted presidents without blinking. One night in Indiana, he looked out into the crowd and saw the one person who made him flinch.
I was starstruck. Caitlin Clark was at my show in Indiana, and I had, for some reason, I was like, oh, shit. Every once in a while, somebody gets me that I didn't think was going to make me like...
There's a clip.
It wasn't fake humility, that was real. Wide-eyed awe from a guy who doesn't rattle easily. A moment of silence. Not for effect, but because words actually failed him. And it wasn't aimed at a movie star, a viral rapper, or some overnight sensation that was directed at a player in the WNBA. No music deal, no Hollywood background. Just basketball. That's the Caitlin Clark effect. She doesn't just walk into a room, she takes it over, even if you're the one holding the mic. And that moment, it wasn't an anomaly. Don Deutsch has seen it all, coached at Indiana, called games for ESPN, watched legends rise and fall. So when he says, "I've never seen a player quite like Caitlin Clark," that's not flattery. That's a broadcast veteran sending a warning shot across the league. This isn't hype, it's a shift in anyone not paying attention.
Most unique, fan-friendly basketball game that a player in the WNBA has ever had. It's, I said from the get-go, it's Steph Curry. We've seen, and this is unfortunate, we had a great player here, Tamika Catchings, but we've seen her game. Asia Wilson's a terrific player, but we've seen her game.
Yeah, we have.
We've seen from the free throw line down, or we've seen from the three-point line down. We've seen, we haven't seen anything like Caitlin Clark.
Dan Deutsch isn't just saying she's talented, he's saying she's rewriting the visual language of women's basketball. Her range. It's not just impressive, it's disruptive. Before Caitlin, nobody was worried about a player pulling up from 35 feet. Now teams are picking her up at the logo. She's stretching the floor in ways the WNBA hasn't seen, and that's not just a highlight. It's a tactical shift. Coaches are drawing up men's-style defensive coverages in the league that never needed them before, not because they want to, but because they have to. So when Dan says, "We've never seen this," he's not exaggerating. He's diagnosing a problem every opposing coach now has to solve. Because with Clark on the floor, defenders aren't reacting, they're scrambling. But not everyone thinks that's a good thing. After a dominant Fever win, ESPN's Caroline Peck raised eyebrows. Not because Indiana won, but because Caitlin didn't play. And in Peck's view, that might have been why they played better.
Game just now. Look, the Fever have been on a tear. They've won 2 in a row. A 25-point blowout of the Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup final, and then 27 against the Aces in this one. And both of those games without Caitlin Clark. How is Indiana getting this done right now?
Look, I think that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play, because she's a ball-dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot, so you know what you need to try to take away.
Now, that sounds like analysis. But let's be honest, that's not just X's and O's, that's a shot.
Wasn't a tactical breakdown. That was a heartbreak confession. South Carolina fans, they're loyal. They ride for Dawn Staley for what she's built, for what she represents. So when Caitlin Clark came in and snapped their streak, it didn't just shake the bracket, it rattled loyalties. Because that game, that wasn't an upset. It was a shift, a reminder that greatness doesn't care about your team colors, it walks in, silences the crowd and rewrites the outcome. Clark didn't win hearts with charm. She won them with cold, calculated buckets on the biggest stage of the year. And just when it seemed like the buzz couldn't get any louder, someone dropped a match. Because when the PBD podcast weighed in, they didn't call her great. They didn't call her exciting. They called her something far more explosive.
On a person is real, because they're good. And I'm just gonna admit, I was a Caitlin Clark hater that turned into a fan. But I was only hating on her skill set at that time because she was going up against my favorite team, our favorite, just period across the board, South Carolina. And then the year that she knocked them out of the championship game, it was like, oh, nah.
Jackie Robinson of the WNBA. Let that simmer. They're not just saying Caitlin Clark is talented. They're saying she's a barrier breaker, a game changer. Not because of the color of her skin, but because of the reach, because of how she's crossing over, pulling in audiences the league has never touched. Millions of fans, many of whom couldn't name a single WNBA team last year, are now buying Fever jerseys, filling arenas, quoting her stats like gospel. She's not just playing in the WNBA, she's dragging it into the spotlight with her. And if that sounds dramatic, wait until you hear what a late-night legend saw in her. When David Letterman sits across from you, you're not just in the spotlight, you're on the national radar. This is a man who's interviewed presidents, movie stars, Hall of Famers, and after retiring from late night, he launched a Netflix series reserved only for the most fascinating people in the world. So when he sat down with Caitlin Clark, this wasn't filler, it was validation. And he didn't ask her about box scores or bonus checks. He went deeper into what drives her, into why she plays the way she does, and what it costs her to do it. Asterisk.
Jackie Robinson of the WNBA will be Caitlin Clark if she stays healthy. There's a group of them that would hope for her to be out. But
why do you say she's going to be the Jackie Robinson of the WNBA?
Well,
it's not like she's the first white girl.
She's not the first white girl, but she's the first white superstar at the levels where she's scoring these, the threes she's shooting. She's like a Steph Curry. She's the first actual superstar that people care. When's the last time we watched like college basketball? If I told you, tell me the greatest college basketball female basketball players last 30 years.
This wasn't just casual conversation. David Letterman isn't known for handing out praise. He's sharp, witty, and usually keeps things at arm's length. But when he sat down with Caitlin Clark, something changed. He leaned in not to joke, but to listen. Because what he saw wasn't just a young athlete who can shoot from the logo. He saw that same focus, that same fire. He's witnessed in world leaders, Hall of Famers, and icons of every kind that drive. It's not just behind her deep threes, it's why someone like Letterman keeps watching, and it's not just talk. The numbers back it up. Christine Brennan, one of the most respected sports journalists in the world, doesn't buy into hype. She deals in facts. She's covered every Olympic Games since 1984. She's not quick to call anyone the greatest. So when she says Caitlin Clark is the best thing to ever happen to women's basketball, that's not a headline grab. That's the truth, backed by decades of experience and hard data.
It encapsulates what I know of you as a human being. It's that the competitive drive that overrides every little daily occurrence. Am I right about that?
Let's look at the numbers again. 21 out of 24 top-rated WNBA games this season featured Caitlin Clark. That's not a fluke. That's not clever marketing. That's gravity. People aren't just tuning in because the league is growing. They're tuning in because she's playing. Clark isn't riding at rising tide. She is the tide. And the way she handles all that pressure is not just good for business. It's rare, especially for someone her age. Here's what many forget. Caitlin Clark is just 23 years old. She's younger than some players, still waiting for their first big minutes, but you'd never guess it from the way she leads, responds, and performs. Her confidence, unshakable. Her presence, way beyond her years. Even seasoned journalist Christine Brennan, who's known for her high standards and sharp reporting, couldn't help but point it out. In one of the most glowing reviews she's ever given a young player, Brennan didn't just praise Caitlin's talent. She praised her maturity, calling it one of the most remarkable things she's seen in decades of covering elite athletes.
Totally. I mean, the New York Liberty have an incredible fan base, incredible success story, obviously the defending champions. But 21, during the regular season, 21 of the 24 games that were over 1 million viewership involved Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. So, 21 out of 24. Okay, there's 3 that weren't, right? I think it is undeniable that this woman is the most important and best thing to ever happen to women's basketball.
This isn't just a scouting report, it's a character reference. From a journalist who has followed every major female athlete for over 40 years, because Caitlin Clark doesn't just manage the media spotlight, she disarms it. She doesn't get tangled up in controversy, she rises above it. While the league throws elbows, she keeps her cool, shrugs it off, and then goes out and drops 25 points, hitting a logo 3 like it's nothing. But Christine Brennan wasn't finished. Her final word struck a chord across the country when Caitlin was left off the Olympic team. The reaction was swift and fierce, and Brennan, she was the one who broke the news. She didn't just call it surprising, she called it historic.
Understanding the magnitude and the power of being the role model that she is. All of this, she was 22, now she's 23, but all of this at age 22, I say she's 22 going on 40 or 50. The maturity, the poise, handling every issue, lots of stuff thrown at her, lots of controversy, as you know, and everything about her, a maturity, an elegance, intelligence, and just also a sense of humor that you would hope to see in someone. And America, there she is.